Hi, everyone. Welcome. I'm so pumped to be here with Jules Latimer. Hello.
What up?
So this has been like a long time coming. The world has been wild, so we've been like navigating scheduling. So it's just super exciting that you're actually in this space. So thank you for popping in to the Empowered Artist Collective podcast.
Oh, I like the way you said that.
Thank you.
I think it's like how it's how you're hugging the mic. I'm like, oh wow. And next up, we have a little Anita Baker.
Breaking into some song. I feel like I'm starting to learn the like the like croony thing into the microphone where I'm like, hello, we all tune in here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's good to tune in. We haven't really seen each other in a while. I haven't really seen people in a while. I'm just beginning to like go out and about. Like I got COVID, my partner got COVID. Now we're like, okay, so like I guess we can go outside now.
Yeah, so. You're antibody to the max. So you're the ones who people want to be around because they know they're not going to get it from you.
Right.
I think that's how social spheres are kind of working now, where it's like you decide who has had it and then they becam your buffer and then you're like, you're cool. And those are the people that you want to hang. Maybe this is just how I'm operating.
I'm not that calculated, but yeah.
I haven't really thought about it until this moment, but maybe subconsciously that's where I'm at. Unclear.
Right. Subconsciously.
Well, for the listener who doesn't know who you are, who are you today? What do you want them to know?
Who am I today? So today I am Jules Latimer. I am an artist. I'm a partner. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I'm a lover. I'm so many things. But in this moment right now, I'm pretty content.
Content's a good one.
It is. I'm pretty content. I'm like, I feel like pretty set in the world. And happy to be here. Like my life is just going really well right now.
I love that. You have been on such an incredible career streak that I cannot wait to delve more into. And as a friend from afar, it's been just like really, really wild and incredible to watch your journey, but we'll get there. Jules and I did a summer at Chautauqua together, upstate New York. Many years. I don't know what time is, but a couple years back.
I mean, that was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah. Really wild.
Yeah.
That was a time. And some incredible people have come from that summer already, like out of the woodworks, just slaying. So it's just really, really wild.
Mo, Yoni, Sadiq. I mean, the list goes on. I think it was a very special time, a special like class of people. I had a lot of fun during that time. It was my first like equity anything.
Yeah.
And especially with Shakespeare, which I'm so fearful of.
Which is wild because you were so bomb and we did Romeo and Juliet and you were great.
It was the time. I was learning from everybody. Everybody was so generous and I felt like such a shy pie. I just kind of sat around and watched people. I was present, but I was pretty shy.
But it's so wild because it really was this incredible group. Chautauqua, if you look at their roster of people that they've had as alumni, part of their conservatory program, it really is kind of incredible where I don't know what it is, but they like smell the people who are just really great artists and get them somehow. But like that summer specifically, it really was this, I don't know, conglomerate of just open, creative, collaborative, funny, deliberate, wild, wacky, energized human beings all thrown together into this weird gated community to create.
Mm-hmm. And that was such a special time for me personally. I had like, especially going back to school, because I'd gone to Julliard before like at 18 and then I left. And then, I don't know, I was just really determined to like, I want to be around different types of artists. I don't necessarily want to be around like Juilliard folks. I want to do summer stock. I remember my mom talking about it when she was a kid. And she was like Reno Sweeney and Anything Goes.
Obsessed.
And I saw like photos of it. I was like, oh my God, that looked like so much fun.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I want to like get my chops. Like, because, you know, you don't leave an institution and you're only working with those people from the institution. So
Right.
it seemed appropriate. And, you know, working with artists of different ages and backgrounds. And I just am so happy it manifested itself. It was really kind of incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of my closest friends are still from that program too.
Yeah,
And
same.
it's just really, yeah, like y'all came to see me in Title of Show last summer. Like it was
Incredible.
Oh,
It
thank
was
you.
incredible. I loved it so freaking much. I actually still think about that. And I remember afterwards, I was like, damn, that show is good.
Thank you. Yeah, but it was so
Jennifer's
sweet.
so good. And
Thank
I was
you.
like, I was like, yeah, no, I still think about it. I'm like, wow, it was amazing, Jennifer. It was great.
Thank you. Well, enough about me. Let's jump into you for a second, or for the rest of this time.
Sure.
I want to talk to you about your road after graduating Juilliard, right? So you were at Juilliard, you left, you decided to come back, you completed your time. And I feel like the trajectory of your Juilliard experience to you booking, and then booking again, and then booking. I just want to like talk about your journey post graduating and then being a booking sleigh. Yeah.
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to Evan Yanulis, who runs the Juilliard program. One of the playwrights, Eboni Booth, had that was at Juilliard, wrote a play called Paris. And I had done a reading of it and I fell in love with the work. I fell in love with Ebony, and you know, it's like one of those moments when like you meet somebody creatively and you just feel like you jive.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way she sees the world, how she writes the world, how she interprets it. And she told me she was doing the show at Atlantic Theater Company. I think she had told me that summer or fall. And I was like, I have to do it. And she was like, Jules, I'm not getting in trouble. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to mess with like your fourth year. And I was like, fair, but I can at least ask. Can I just ask Evan? I remember after like a meeting we had with Evan, I think it was the top of the year. And I was just like, listen, I really want to go out for this. They're not going to give me a straight offer. I need to audition for it. They don't know who I am.
Right.
And she slowly okayed it. And I was like, you know what? The season had just come out for a fourth year. I'm a scheduling Virgo queen. So I really, when I can find a hole in a schedule and fill it, I will.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this works perfectly. The only overlap is that I'll have to do like kind of double duty, doing rehearsal during the day and then we did Paradise Blue with Brandon J. Dirden for my final show at Juilliard at that same time. So that happened. And I don't know, it was like very divine sort of alignment, her blessing, the Atlantic Theater's blessing, it being the right fit. And then I was kind of like a fish out of water when I went into the rehearsal room to be a lead of the show Off-Broadway. And I was like really shitting my pants and I was so nervous. And, but I was like, no, you have your training, just do what you were trained to do. And keep plugging away, which also in those rooms, like being with Canute and him encouraging me to try different things and to kind of let the training go a bit and to like trust myself was great. To work with some really incredible artists during that play and see how they play was really phenomenal. And then from there, like I was looking on Playbill and I've always had like an artistic crush on Daniel Fish.
Okay.
I'm pretty eccentric as a person. And I love his work. I love doing really wild and boundary pushing things. And I saw that he was reconceptualizing Most Happy Fella, Frank Lesser musical. And I saw it and I emailed my manager and was like, can I go in for this? I don't know when and where, but I'm just super curious. And all this is happening during my fourth year. And I think kind of the advantage of going to school, like for 2 years and then leaving, I don't know, I just became really assertive because I lived in New York. I was working in kitchens. I was slaving away just to make rent, and sleeping on floors, and staying with friends and things like that. And I don't know, when I went to school, I was like, I'm milking it for everything they have.
Yeah, probably because you purposefully chose to go back. It wasn't the thing that was like, well, I should be doing this. It was like, no, I left and now I'm deciding on my own to come back to this thing.
Yeah. I mean,
there's choice.
you know it. I mean, it's a predominantly white institution perpetuating those things.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're going to take my money, then I might as well get the thing that people laud you for.
Amen.
And I need to use those tools to my benefit. And yes, with some push and want for them to change. And, that's going to come in their own time. And I think halfway through my time at Juilliard, I was like, a mentor, actually, Keith Randolph Smith was like,
Who
what are you
played
doing?
My husband.
Right.
Who was my love.
I love that. I love
He's such a good human and a brilliant actor.
I saw him in What the End Will Be. He's brilliant in it. And yeah, he had told me, he was like, I mean, you went to that school to like get the goods and get out. And I was like, you're right, fellow Virgo. I need to like get the goods and get out.
Is he a fellow Virgo?
He is a fellow Virgo.
Do you know much about signs?
I know like good enough.
Like if I tell you mine, would you be able to tell me things about me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm an Aquarius Capricorn cusp.
Aquarius Capricorn cusp. Now the thing is like
I need to know my sun and my moon and my risings and the fallings and the stars and the.
Do you at least know the rising and the moon?
So here's the thing. My mom, this sounds insane. My mom, I think I want to say like 9:30 a.m. in the morning is when I was born, and that's when I need to check. But my mom has like a weird recollection that it was like 7:15 or something, and I was like, no, that was like my weight. And she's like, no, it was the opposite. So like, I'm going back and forth about how much I weighed as a baby versus when I was actually born as a baby, and I don't actually know the details, but I should just commit and just call it a day. But I guess that's also not real because then I wouldn't be really reading my time.
Right. When is your like
January 20th?
January 20th.
Inauguration day. Sometimes it's really dark.
Right. I mean, when people say cusps, that actually might be true. I mean, with Aquarius, it's like Peter Pan syndrome. It's like, I don't want to grow up. I'm whimsical. I want to play. I want to do all those things. But the fact that it's like a Capricorn, my brother is an Aquarius. My father is a Capricorn.
Okay.
And with Capricorn, it's like old man syndrome.
That's
stubborn.
Oh,
so stubborn, but also like incredibly confident and like bold.
Mm-hmm.
And like determined.
Yeah.
A great determination. And I don't know. I think Capricorns too have they have really high anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Super high anxiety because like if like they see the path, but the path isn't actually occurring, it can cause them to kind of panic because they're like, I see it. It's right there. We need to be going. And then it's not happening and they kind of freak out.
Cool. So I'm having an internal panic attack as you say this. So I'm gonna just flee the conversation.
You know, it's so funny too, because I wasn't even thinking about you. I was thinking about like maybe like 3 or 4 other Capricorns that I know, male and female, that like are artists as well. And they're like, and when I have private conversations with them, they're like, Jules, I'm freaking out. And I'm like, yeah, don't freak out. Like you have the earth beneath you supporting you. Don't freak out, my goat friend. Don't do it.
Yeah. I feel like I get it. This doesn't need to be about me again. We're going to come back to you. But like, I feel like when people talk about signs, there are things that I feel like I know about it and then things that I clearly don't. But the Capricorn part is the part that I know is like, my determined, like focused. And then the Aquarius part is like the part that, when I hike, it's because I need to go like not deal with anything and be a whimsical little fairy goat. And also like my ADD part of myself, I think is the Aquarius thing too, where I get like, oh, look at the shiny little, we can do. And then I'm like, oh, no, there's the path.
It's like a common thread. I've never met an Aquarius sun who it doesn't have like whimsy. I totally got distracted. I don't really know what's going on. Kind of I think they always have that in a sense of play. But the other thing is too, the beauty of knowing your whole chart is knowing like for instance, like I'm a Virgo sun, I'm a Virgo moon, and I'm a Cancer rising, which means that I am so picky, so particular. My emotions are picky and particular. I think
Okay.
everyone is wrong majority of the time. But then my Cancer rising is I'm so shy, and like I think a few people have said this to me. They're like, you have a tendency to be very like sort of standoffish. And it's only because I'm like, I am so shy. I don't have anything to say. And if anything, it's probably wildly inappropriate.
It's so
And
wild that you say that though, because I do experience you in real life as
Mhm.
somebody who's more of like an observer. And for me, it doesn't feel like it's because you're shy. It feels like it's because you have so much that you want to say and you don't want to say it.
I was at a brunch the other day and they were arguing about a show. Somebody was like, well, what do you think about it? And not to me. They were like opening it up to the table. I was like, don't ask me because you feel like you have more
Yeah.
to say than
Yeah.
I do. So please. But that's also because I have a stellium, which means I have like 3 of one sign in my chart, which is Libra.
Oh.
And like my Mars, which is like sort of like how I deal with like conflict and how I like approach like injustices in the world and things like that. It's like I am the diplomat. I'm all about balance.
Yeah.
I want to hear your side. I want to hear your side. And then I want to come to like a compromised agreement that we can follow so that we can keep the peace. Like I'm a lover.
Ooh.
I'm a
Yeah.
lover. And my Venus, this is the kicker, which is like my love. My Venus is in Leo,
Okay.
which
Lions, right? Is
which
that a
means
lion? No.
it's
Oh.
it is lion, correct.
Oh.
It's like if I love you, you're gonna get all of me. You're gonna get all of me, you're gonna get all this
Oh.
good love.
Yes.
I am doting. I'm like, can I rub your feet? Can I cook you dinner? Can I do
Yes.
I need you to sit back, relax, and like I will love you.
Are you an act of service? Is that one of your love languages?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. As you were talking, like this is acts of service, like written to a capital situation.
Oh,
Interesting.
I tell my partner all the time, and that's my love language.
Yeah.
So like I don't like to drive, but we have a car in the city, so even when we weren't in the city, she was like she drove all the time and she was like, "Well, why don't you drive?" I was like, "Can I tell you something?" She was like, "What?" I was like, "When you drive, I love you more." And that's not me being passive aggressive.
No, it's your love language.
It's my love. When you hang up wall shelving, I lose my mind.
It's a turn on. I used to talk about this with people all the time. Like a non-sexual turn on, like would be somebody who knows how to communicate, which I know is just a very vague like statement, but somebody who was transparent with their communication. And some people are like, that's not something to be. I was like, no, you don't understand. People don't do it. And so all of a sudden you come at me and you tell me how you feel. What do you need? What can I do for you?
Right.
What?
Jennifer, you're saying non-sexual. I'm like, no,
It is sexual. Let's be clear.
Fully sexual
Yeah.
for me when you
Same.
hang up
A shelf.
a shelf.
Great. If you need any
The rat.
assistance, if you need like stuff I can send from Amazon to your home and it won't be from me, and just like you can have an evening to yourselves, you're welcome. Like I freely just send you some shelving.
Thank you.
Well, this has been a wonderful little detour. I feel like I learned a lot about you, about the stars and the moons and the sky and the Yeah, I'm curious about it. Whenever I read those birthday books, I'm always like, I should know more, but I feel like it would explain things, but also I wonder if it would like help me justify my behavior. And I don't know if I need more excuses. Do you know what I mean?
Coming from an Aquarius Capricorn cusp, that makes sense.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I feel seen.
You're welcome.
So you talked to your manager for this new production, and how did that all come to be?
He contacted Taylor Williams, and I got an appointment. One of the worst auditions I've ever done.
Okay.
If we want to go down the audition rabbit hole, I feel like not everything I book, but like when I feel like I am like a dumpster fire, usually feels like we're onto something.
Tell me more.
Well, I mean, I don't know Daniel Fish, or at the time I didn't know him. Now I know him very well, but I was like this college graduate who was obsessed with his work. I saw Oklahoma. I ranted and raved about it. I was like, this is, I love this. If I were to do a musical, I would do it like this. Or I would want to be a part of something like this. And I don't know. I think I just kind of freaked myself. I like had school, I had Paris going on, and then I had this audition that I really didn't want to bomb.
Right.
And I had worked on it. I sang it. You know, it's so funny. Sarah and I, my partner, were talking about like the early days, like being in school and like listening to music and like trying to learn our music for our singing class and like all the things. And I kind of miss that, even though I still audition, but it's the like I'm staying up until the crack of dawn trying to learn this just because I believe in it. And I really believed in Most Happy. I thought the music was gorgeous. I was like, this is Frank Lesser. This is so, it's such a weird story, but I was like, the music is incredible. And so when I went in, I was like, okay, this key is way too high for me, but I'm going to try.
Y'all, for anybody listening, Jules is a dope musician. Yeah.
Thank you. And I was like trying to figure out how I could get around, like how I could skate by it all. And I was like, I know they want me to sing in this key. And so I tried it, and then my eyes were down just like this. And then I started crying, and I walked into the room and I knew Taylor, but I couldn't remember her name right off the bat. And I just started crying, and I was like, I'm just having like a terrible day. Like I'm having such a hard day.
You walked into the room crying?
No, after I sang the song, I started crying.
Okay.
And then she was like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm just having a really bad day. I love this music. I just started like professing my love for how much I loved it.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, well, can we try it just one more time? And she gave me an adjustment. I sang it. And then I felt super defeated, was still crying, and was like, well, thank you for letting me sing that. I love this music. And it was just nice to be able to do that. And she was like, well, I hope you have a better day. I was like, yeah, me too. And I hope you guys have a great day. It was her and Borna. And then I left, and I was like, yeah, that sucked. I was like, I walked into the room and made people feel sorry for me. And then they called me back for an audition with him. So he wasn't in the room. And then I was like, oh shit, this is the time I get to like really do the thing. So I like called up somebody. I was like, I need to sing through this music, like, blah, blah, blah. And I was doing it like real musical theater, legit. I don't know the words. I was just trying to give them the style of this music. And then when I went in the room, I was trying not to like fangirl. And I was like, yes, Daniel, so nice to meet you. And I sang the song, and he was just like, no. He was like, I like the vibe is like singer songwriter, like in your room, like playing guitar. Like this is like, it's for you. It's like the isolation of it all. Like that's what I want. And he came at me in a way, and I was like, oh my God. And I just like rolled my eyes. I was like, it's going to be one of those things. And so I was like, oh, fuck it. And then just went in and did my thing. And then I left, and Bruce McKenzie, who was in my cast at Paris, I went to the theater for the show. I was like, yeah, I just had a call back with him. I don't know. And he was like, well, I just texted him. And then he showed me a text from Daniel.
Oh my God.
Like, yo, she's amazing. I was like, oh.
Yep.
And then we were finishing up Paris, and I started rehearsals for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'm hearing from this is, and I've experienced the same thing, is that like when you are most human is when they learn who you are. You know, I think that really, at least what I'm hearing through this, is like you being a person who's just simply connecting to music. In that moment, they got to see you as a human being connecting to music when you were there listening, like having an actual in real life reaction to somebody coming at you and being like, well, fuck it, I guess I'm going to do it this way now. Like this is how you would do that anyway. Like there's something that brings the humanity back to the world that isn't just like, I'm performing this piece for you, that we then learn something about you as a person. So for me, I mean, my takeaway is like, yeah, it's not a dumpster fire. If anything, what a gift that you were having the shittiest day, that you like couldn't do anything other than be with your feelings. And then they get to see you actually being connected, or, you know, like, I don't know.
No, you do know, because it's like, I'm just remembering a teacher telling me once that to think that you're so different from the characters that we read on pages is to assume that there's like a world of perfectionism that they live in that we don't.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Yeah.
And what we do, it's not even performing, it's like it's a demonstration of humanity.
Correct.
So it's like the only thing that we should do is just prepare ourselves to be conduits between reality and the lights. It's like that's really what it is. And
so dropping some poetry just casually on an afternoon. Thank you so much.
It's raining.
Signed,
it's nice.
Same. It's all serene and beautiful. So you did this production, and
well, it was more like a workshop of it because the pandemic hit.
Great.
We were getting ready to do it at Bard. Mm-hmm. And then while that was happening, I got an audition for Guilty Party.
Great. Let's talk about this. Was this your first on-camera appointment ever, or was this the first series regular, or had you had a bunch of these already and this just felt different?
It was I think it was like my third or fourth series regular audition. Okay. And I had it was funny, me and my partner were auditioning for it.
The same part?
The same part.
Ooh.
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. I mean, we've really worked through that
a lot.
Well, I mean, when we were in school, because I was like, you know, I don't think I can to talk about my personal life, but I was like, I don't think we could do this if we feel like we're in competition. Like if anything, we get like 2 votes to everyone's 1. Yeah. It's like, and that's sort of how we see everything. It's like, no, let me help you. I mean, we're 2 totally different people. Mm-hmm. And so I remember the day I went in for it, and I went into Rob DeCina's office at CBS, and we were lying in bed doing the lines together. Her appointment was before mine, and then I went in, and I like kind of dilly-dallied because I didn't want to be that person that showed up and she walks out the door, and that I was like, that's a little much. And so then I went in and auditioned for that. I didn't think much of it. I was actually kind of like, whatever. Like I'm new. They don't care. I'm gonna do my best, but they don't care. And I did my thing. And funny bit is that Rob DeCina came and did like a workshop at my class for my class, and I wasn't there. I think I was playing hooky, and and he told me he was like, well, because you missed my wonderful class, I want you to do the take again, but then just add a button at the end. And I was like, oh
my God, he dug you.
Yeah.
He's been waiting for a long time to give you that dig. He was like, when am I going to get Jules into my office to say, like, you played hooky and I'm calling you out and I see you?
I mean, I don't even think he remember. Obviously, he didn't remember me because I wasn't in the class.
But he knew enough that you weren't there. Like, he clearly knew that you were supposed to be somewhere that you weren't, to know that he could mention that however long afterwards while you were in for an appointment that he called you in for. Like, there's some holding on in the best way over here. Like, you made an impression without somehow making an impression because you weren't there. Like, really wild.
And I was able to giggle and be like, sure. And I still thought I thought it was like a class. Like, I thought he was like, yeah, add the button at the end. I was like, cool. And I'll be sure to do that next time. And so when I left the office, I was like, okay, whatever. And went about my day, because I had a bunch of things going on. We had just closed Paris. I was getting ready for showcase. I hadn't even showcased yet. And I was doing Most Happy with Daniel, which, you know, that requires all of you. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I have plenty to do. I don't need to worry about this. And I didn't. And I was auditioning for other things. And then my manager texted me and was like, hey, you got a call back. I was like, dope. That's so awesome. Super cute of them. They gave me a note to put makeup on.
Oh, to play a prison inmate.
Right.
Cool. We love.
I was like, all good. I was like, look, I don't have to like think about my choices. It's just click, click, and then do my thing. So then I went in, I did the callback, and I was like, yeah, again, they want to see me, but there are other people here, whatever.
Yeah.
And I went about my day. And then my manager texted me. He was like, they want to test you. They want to fly you out to LA. And I was like,
Wow.
and so I think I had finally told Saren about it because I was like, this is so awkward. And I just thought that they were messing around. And then I was hesitant because I was like, I don't want to play a person in prison. That's like the first thing on television I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then I had called my manager about it. He was like, do you want to talk to the showrunner? And I was like, can I do that? And he was like, yeah. I was like, so I talked to her for a little bit.
Wow.
I was like, can you tell me what this is? Like, what's her trajectory? Like, what's the sauce? And so she told me like sort of what the season was looking like. And I was intrigued and I really loved her. I fell in love with Rebecca Adelman, still do. She's amazing. And yeah, and then I flew out to LA. Mind you, this is a few days before the pandemic started.
Wow.
So I flew out to LA. This is when like the ships in Seattle, the cruise ships were getting LA. All of it was coming into the United States, even though we know it came earlier now. And I went out to LA. I tested for it. They had asked me, the producers, they were like, okay, so like, what are you going to do afterwards? I was like, have y'all heard of this coronavirus thing? Like, it's so
coming.
It's so coming. It's so crazy. I mean, I was going to go see a Lakers game, but I was like, no, let me just stay in my hotel room and enjoy the fact that I have like a king size bed. That's really nice.
Yeah.
And so then I flew back, and then days later, Most Happy shut down. Saren and I were both in school still. We left New York because I got attacked on the train going to get stuff from Julliard.
I remember that.
Some dude like ran after me and was like saying all these horrible things to me. And I was like, you know what? Let me go home. Let me go check on my mom. And so we left. We packed a bag for like 2 weeks to quarantine and then check on my mom. And then like it just kept unraveling. Now, mind you, I just tested for this thing and they were like, they need another week. They need another week. They need another week. And when you test, usually you're within like, 5 to 10 days, something like that. And it turned into like, felt like a month. I think it might've been like 3 weeks. And then they called me and told me I got the job.
Wow.
And I was like, it was hard to celebrate because I was like, the world is in crisis right now. And I was super happy about it. But the thing that really got me was we weren't shooting until November. So it's like April.
Yeah.
So, unemployment, we were just pinching pennies until it was time to shoot. Then Isla dropped from the project. So it got pushed even further. So many things had happened where I was like, I am barely making a living, and we're living off of like favors from friends and family. And then we shot in Calgary instead of LA. That was a big switch.
Right.
And so Saren and I had packed up all our things in New York, and she couldn't come with me. And it was kind of insane. And then went to shoot for the first time on set in the middle of the pandemic.
So tell me about that, because this is your first time on a TV show, period.
Never been on
being a
set
series
before.
regular.
Right.
Tell me about
number 2.
Truly, number 2 on the call sheet. On literally, if anybody had seen posters for Guilty Party on the subway or anywhere, most likely saw Jules's face. Right. So you and Kate Beckinsale, we love this. So what did you know, or what didn't you know, or what didn't you realize you didn't know until you were there? Like, how did you prep for any of it? Or did you?
I did. I went to the University of YouTube. We love. I love and I don't love. Like, I literally went to Juilliard and I had to YouTube how to be on set and set lingo. We had like one class about being on set, and I had done like on camera work with Bob Krakauer, who's incredible. And but this was my prep. I went on set one day when I wasn't working.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Kate do her thing. I like saw kind of the setups. I sort of understood like, oh, rehearsal isn't rehearsal anymore. It's just to block and have like a discussion with the director with like 70 people around.
Mm-hmm.
Or rehearsals when like crew isn't in there and you can just kind of chit chat and talk through stuff. Then you block it and then they do a rehearsal with the crew in the space. Now with COVID, it was a little different. So everybody had their masks on. I had my mask on during rehearsal.
Right.
So the only time that I took my mask off was the day of, which in like television film terms is like on the day when we actually shoot it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was just a bucket of nerves. Like the first scene that we did was 5 or 6 pages, which in the TV film world is like an eternity. Like that takes all day. And I was like, why does this take all day? Like, I didn't even know like, oh, we shoot a wide, then we come in and we shoot, a French reverse. And I'm just like, what is a French reverse? And it was a crash course, but I have to say like when everybody knew I was baby green on set, everybody was like, what? Okay, raise your hand if you need help. Kate was super helpful during that. And I asked a bunch of questions. I was like, what does this mean? And I was very like I didn't even know that like 1 and 2 set the tone on set.
I love this.
But I didn't know that. And I was just, and like, Kate works a very particular way when she's on set and, she's on set every day. So it's like, let her do her thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, I think probably a month into shooting, I started to catch my bearings as like, not only like somebody who's an actor on set, but also a leader who like can come, can joke, can like, I didn't realize how important that was to like keep it light. We're shooting the same thing over and over again. Like I realized there's a big difference between how Americans shoot and how the Brits shoot.
Mm-hmm.
The Brits, it's like siggy, giggle, like poop jokes. And then like we shoot a scene about, about like killing the mother. And I'm just like, y'all are really intense. And like us Americans are like, yeah, like I'm in character and like, this is how I feel. And like, so it was actually nice to learn from Kate because she is she's really chill prankster on set.
Mm-hmm.
And like carried around this like horn and would like blow the horn behind people and they would like literally shit themselves. I'm like, oh my God, stop doing that. And then like, have a ciggy, have a drink, like a Perrier, and then like hit it. Like I was like, you're incredible. I love no one will ever know. No one will ever know how legend she is. She's amazing.
Well, okay, I want to fast forward because I want to double back after we talk about your new book situation, the new slay that's about to happen. You shot that, amazing press, whatever. I want to come to this current thing that's out. They just changed the name, so you clarify what I'm talking about. But how did this all come to? Tell the listener what I'm referring to, and how did this one all come to be?
So I just recently booked this show called Fire Country, formerly known as Cal Fire.
There we go.
The name change came after doing some tests with the pilot, and they realized Fire Country was more acceptable worldwide because and it's not so centralized to like, or focused on California. Mm-hmm. So more viewership, blah, blah, blah. How did it come about? First of all, I found out that the Guilty Party got canceled. I was working on I feel sorry about it because I'll miss the people and I miss the fact that like we shot in the pandemic. It was really sad and isolating. I did see Kangaroos and Wallabies with Kate and company, and that was super cute. Quick side note, in Canada.
We
Have
love
to say that. Anyways, and that was super cool. So Guilty Party got canceled for a lot of different reasons, and I was still shooting this movie called Rustin with George C. Wolfe directing, with Coleman Domingo, Chris Rock, CCH
small
founder.
names that no one's heard of. Yeah, just really mediocre talent.
Right. Yeah. Which has been, I can't wait for people to see it. It's been a while getting it done, but I think it's going to be pretty phenomenal. So we were on a hiatus because we were waiting for the spring to come around for Rustin, and it was pilot season, and and so I was like, okay, well, and I was getting a lot of stuff. I was like, okay, well, we're getting stuff. And then I got a phone call. I got an email from my manager who was like, we got something from CBS and I'm going to call you. So he called me and he was like, so they're doing this show called Cal Fire at the time. And he was like, and they have a part, and he was like, I want you to look at it. I want you to read it. I don't know. I was like, okay. So I read it. I was like, it's another fire show, whatever. And so I read it and I loved it. And I have to say, like I was shocked. Yeah. I was fully shocked. And I called my manager. I was like, that's good. He was like, yeah, it's pretty good. And I was like, well, let me put it on tape. Let's see. And I did the tape. I did the tape with my partner, and I played this character. Her name is Eve Edwards, who is a hot shot. And let me tell you this, Jennifer. I didn't know this before I booked it. I was like, yeah, like I had watched like Station 19. I had watched like all the fire shows. I was like, majority of the time they're like chilling. Like they're chilling, they're chit-chatting, whatever. This show? So after I booked it, I was like, yay, I booked it. This is so awesome. Flew out to Vancouver to shoot the pilot. Before I got on the plane, Tony, one of the executive producers, calls me and he's like, are you ready for boot camp? I said, say what? And he was like, are you ready for boot camp? Because you have to learn the things. And I was like, right. Yeah, I'm ready for boot camp. Then we learned about everything that Cal Fire firefighters do. So
you literally had to do firefighting training.
I did.
You like, technically, if I dropped you into a fire right now, I'm not saying like you could, but like hypothetically you could.
No, I could cut some line. I know the difference between the tools. I could lay hose. I could like stay off a barrier. I could understand the different calls on radio. I could totally do it. And the premise of the show, which is interesting, is Bodie Donovan, who's in prison, Max plays, who's leading it, is in prison for doing a lot of illegal activity. And he's from a small town in like Northern California. And he comes from, let me not spoil anything in the pilot. He's just like had a really hard time and is in the prison system. Now, a unique thing that happens in California is they have like, I guess you would call it like a pipeline program. I don't know the exact term for it, but there's a program where you can volunteer and they can like put you through this program where you can be part of like a con crew, essentially, where you can help fight fires. It's been super helpful with the wildfire season that's going on right now, and they're only going to get worse. Right. And so what it does is they work, they also get paid, and it reduces their prison sentence.
Amazing.
And so them being a part of it, they can also, once they're done with their prison sentence, transfer into becoming a Cal firefighter. Wow. So it's a job opportunity as well. So my character, Eve, I grew up in the small town that Jake is from, and she's a hot shot, which is like one of the top tier firefighters. It's almost like military level. Wow. I'm trained in land, sea, and sky. I'm so in it, and it's kind of amazing because there aren't a lot of women that are in the Cal firefighter department. Right. So I interviewed one woman, and she was super informative. Shout out to Jenna. She is incredible. And the only thing that I'm going to say on this, whoever sees it, it's like their training needs to be free. They pay in order to be firefighters or be a part of the program. And she told me about all of her sacrifices. And I was like, why would you do that? Like, it's so, like, I don't understand that. And she was like, there's just something about the purpose. Like, I feel this purpose to take care of people. And that's really why I signed on for the show. I love the fact that an actor wrote the pilot, the treatment, went through their agent, and here they are getting a CBS show on linear. I'm like, you?
Yeah. Is it their first piece that they've ever?
Ever. And they get linked with Jerry Bruckheimer, which is just...
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, the creme de la creme.
Yeah. How was filming this thing then? Because this one's like a physical, I want to know about, I mean, if you're able to talk about how fires are created on a set that aren't, I mean, are they? I don't know what the logistics are in this pilot situation while you're, I imagine, like physically in the weeds around it all. Like, how did this one go for you on this set?
I mean, so first of all, I just saw the pilot. I saw the pilot like a week and a half ago.
Everything and more.
I was blown away. Like,
yeah.
Saren and I looked at each other. She was like, I love you no matter what. I was like, thank you. And I was like, cool. I'm prepared to accept whatever it's going to give me. Because firefighter show.
Yeah, but if you have these people who are tapped into it, it's a CBS show. Like, they're not playing around, and they've also done a version of this in some capacity. They know what they're doing.
I mean, Jerry Bruckheimer, just have to say that a couple times because it is like Bad Boys meets like Grey's Anatomy. It is badass. Amazing. And so we watched it, and then towards the end, I look at Sarah, tears just streaming. I'm sitting there, my mouth is like, and first of all, I don't even like watching. The curiosity always gets me. I'm like, yeah, fine, I'll watch it. And so I watched it also to see my other co-stars. I was like, y'all. I mean, I was like, this pilot, like I just laughed and I was shocked. And then I texted everybody. I called a few people. I was like, oh my God. Incredible. Anyways, fires on set. Yes, there are fires on set.
How?
So what they do is it's a controlled fire. You can't legally start fires in the bush in Vancouver. It's also
for obvious
wet.
Reasons.
It's wet out there. For obvious reasons. And so what they do is, I talked to the special effects guy, is they like have these like wires that they have funneled, and it's in like a little like can situation. And it like has they can like control it kind of like a propane tank, and they just go around and light it. One of the scenes that you'll see in the pilot is us running through the burning woods. When I tell you, I saw how they have to like zhuzh it up. So it's like, you know, you have like a tree that's like on fire, but you can see that it's just like one patch of fire. But the special effects, they go in and they just like light it up. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. I can feel the heat off the screen. And I'm like, the whole time I was like, go! I was like, I know what's happening. But I mean, and they're spending a good chunk of money on the special effects. Yeah. And it's with the lights. I mean, our DP is phenomenal while we were out there. I mean, and these folks work in the bush, like they know what you can and cannot do. Yeah. And I do have to say this because I've now experienced it, like being with a crew of people that have done an insurmountable amount of television and film. The sureness in the chaos is astounding. And we did 16-hour days. It was pretty grueling. It was a 13-day shoot. I shot 10 days out of the 13 days. In this pilot, it's pretty action-packed. There's so many things that happen. there's like a car situation that happens where a car like is in like a ditch and we had to like dig someone out. Like there's like a fire that happens in like a predominant part of the town that we had to attend to. And it was just like, walking into a scene and there's no fire. I'm like, if I didn't train for this would have been a really big problem for me.
Right.
Not that I don't have the imagination, but then seeing the fire back and to think, wow, we really matched the effects that the editor put in.
So you're acting with none of it except for potentially some small little sparks of stuff, but you literally have to know, okay, this is eventually going to be a massive forest fire, or this is a middle one, or this is a beginning of this, so that you can energetically meet wherever it is.
Because it's super controlled. There was one element where one of the trees, we stopped by it and the flames came out at us.
Oh, cool.
That was the only moment where I was like,
excuse me.
I was like, so we're gonna have to run this a couple times because like I'm uncomfortable, okay? And my co-star who I fight fires with is like really into stunt work, so he feels super comfortable with that stuff. But I was like, we want to slow it down for baby.
Do you have a stunt person for yourself?
I do, and they will be used.
Yeah.
Because knowing what we have to do, I'm kind of like, okay.
And that's not something that you potentially want to like, I don't mean like get better at. I just mean like that's not something that you are potentially interested in pursuing on your own.
I mean,
literally no judgment in that at all.
No, I'm interested in pursuing it. It's like, but when there isn't a shot list and when you're kind of figuring it out, and in figuring it out, you're shooting something like 10 to 20 times, like, and you have, for me now I have like 13 episodes to think about.
Right.
And not only the 13 episodes, if they do a back order, that's like 22, 24 episodes to think about. And then not only that, but like I do other things besides being a firefighter.
I'm so excited for you. I am peeing.
I haven't fully wrapped my mind around it because I'm like, those 13 days, like my cast hung out and all that stuff. I was like, y'all, I need to take a bath. Like I need I need some me time. I need to put on some RuPaul and I need to decompress. And not that I don't like y'all. First of all, I have to say a major shout out to my cast. They are phenomenal. As actors, as human beings, I love the team.
Good.
Such a rarity. I'm learning.
Yeah. Especially knowing that you are potentially getting into a long, long life with these people. Right. What a gift. What a gift.
Such a gift. It was great. But yeah, and my manager, shout out to my manager because he's really phenomenal. And he was like, yeah, you're not going to do that. You can learn it. Yeah. But like, if you tear your ACL,
you're done. Right. Yeah.
He was like, so just
we love
that. Yeah.
We love. Our time is coming to an end and it's breaking my heart. So I want to just ask you if you could, maybe if there's like a couple things or a thing, or maybe anything that you feel somebody who is maybe starting out or really wanting to get more, say, into TV and film specifically, or you wish you knew for yourself when you were first starting out, what would some of those things or a thing be that you'd want to impart?
Think about it. No, patience. It's funny because we've been talking a lot about like my trajectory or whatever. Mm-hmm. I do have to add that I was fully prepared to be a teacher when I graduated, and was one of the reasons why I went back to schools, because I didn't really see teachers like me when I was a kid, like a Black queer woman. So I was fully prepared to go to Juilliard and be a teacher. I told people that. And then in sort of seeing the path, I'm a big universe person. I'm a big like Huba Juba, my partner and I do a lot of rituals and stuff. And like, one thing that's really coming up for me now, especially thinking about everything that's happened, is like time is that variable that you cannot control, you can only be present for. And not to waste the time that you're presently in.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that comes patience and a very deep sense of spirituality. Like I was saying this to a buddy of mine from school in my buddy line. I was like, I really hope in this time, because they were like, what do I do in my 4th year? I was like, I hope you cultivate your spirituality and your patience, because everything else is crap. Mm-hmm. When you have a spiritual connection to your higher power, at the end of the day, your agent, manager, your friends, whatever, they're not going to be the ones to be the saving grace. It is your spiritual connection that will save your life. It saved my life so many times.
Yeah.
And this whole thing is about self-preservation, because some days you win, some years you win, and then some you lose.
Yeah.
And you could be on that streak for a long time, depending on how you look at things. So then it's a perspective thing. So it's like, and the only thing or energy that can change that is if you have some connection to a higher power. And say no.
You love.
Just say no. You don't have to do everything.
How do you decide for yourself when you say no? Like, what for you is that deciding factor?
My gut.
You trust it 100% all the time? Most of the time?
And if I don't, I pray.
Mm-hmm.
And then clear my crap out of the way so I can listen and see what it is. Like, for instance, like this Fire Country job, I was like, all the things. I was like, it's a firefighter show. It's on CBS. Like, there was many things where I was like, but then I would have one person or even like my gut kind of tell me, no, you need to go back to that. Go back to that. Let me talk to somebody. And then I remember my agent was the kicker for me for the show, because they had offered me the show, but I was like, and she was like, Jules, what do you want? I was like, you know what I really want is a family. Like, I want to get married. I know my greatest joy will be getting married and having children, having a family, like raising a family.
Yeah.
And she was like, you could do this with that job.
Yeah.
And she was like, also, these people who are on the show have families. And I was like, time yet.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
Follow your gut. Also, I was like waiting for like the A24, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is stupid. Let me just do what's in front of you. You can't poo-poo on your blessing. Don't do that.
I love that. Also, like the A24 situations are coming straight after people see you running through forest fires. So they're like, look, if they can do that, like, could we have them on this intimate set? Yeah.
Right. And if not, shame on them.
Truly, their loss. And I'll direct them back to this episode and be like, did you listen though? Yeah. No, you didn't.
But I also have to say this real quick. This is a business on relationships, not talent.
Yep.
That's probably about 5% of it. It's relationships and be a good person to people, because some of the opportunities I've always gotten, they're like, Jules is an amazing person. Yeah. And they never lead with talent, which I'm like, I'm talented. No, but it's relationships.
Well, then it becomes a surprise factor where you roll in, you're like, I'm the good person, and also look how cool and dope I am, and this is all the things that I can do. Right. So I think.
Well, yeah, but I mean, really, I got the phone call from CBS because they were like, you were so kind to people on set.
Oh,
like
Jules.
they loved who you were as a person. They loved your work.
Yeah.
But when it's like negative 33 degrees outside and no one's telling a poop joke, like the days get long.
So the moral of the story is look up those poop jokes before you get on set so you have them at the fly. I'll come calling you, be like, look, do you have them? Can you send me the PDF? Look, I need them now. Unreal.
Be a good time. Be good peoples. Yeah. Really.
You're a joy. Truly, I could keep talking to you forever. That's why we've like totally surpassed what I usually keep this time to, but like I don't
Sorry.
care. No, I don't care. I'm
Okay.
clearly enjoying my time and I imagine the listener has as well. Your star, your little blue check mark is going to be bumping off very soon. So I recognize this is like a your answer to this probably holds a caveat. For now, what is the best, keeping in mind like the future of your career blowing up and expanding like the forest fires? What is the best way for people within your boundaries respectfully to reach out to you if they want to learn more, work with you, yada, yada, yada?
Yeah, they can find me on the gram. It's Jules Latimer on the gram, all under case. Yeah, I mean, it hasn't blown up probably because my content isn't that great, but I do like, I post stuff that I find funny, but whatever.
You say that now, and then when you find yourself in a CBS contract that is a fire show, talk to me.
Yeah,
Well, we're going to revisit this.
We'll have a little chit chat. We'll have a little kiki.
I adore you so much, and I'm so grateful to you for this time. And I am forever in your corner, and a huge supporter of your work. And I am so excited for the world to continue seeing how brilliant you are and also how good of a person you are. Because truly I agree. That's like why you're here in this conversation with me. I don't really like to talk to assholes. So, or like put myself surround myself with assholes generally, because that's really trying to weed those ones out. But, listen, that's a whole other conversation. I love you the most. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for sharing so openly and for being here.
Love you, love you, love you, Jennifer Apple, love you,
Hey.
Love you, and Walter, love you,
yes.
love you.
And that is going to be the new jingle.